Diego Pavia should not have been able to play college football this season. 2024 was his last year. He even said it himself. But following last season, Pavia filed a lawsuit which granted him an injunction that allowed him to play college football in 2025. This was a big deal for Pavia as it allowed him to earn a ton of money from NIL. Fortunately for the Commodores, he was worth every penny, leading Vanderbilt to their best season in over a century and narrowly missing out on the college football playoff. But here's the thing, this lawsuit is still going on, and if Pavia wins, it will change the sport of college football forever. Let's take a brief look at the lawsuit and its surrounding context to understand what exactly is going on here. The first thing we need to understand is junior college athletics. Junior colleges, or Jucos, are colleges that serve as a stepping stone to a 4-year university. They offer 2-year programs, and athletes typically enroll either to become academically eligible or to gain more exposure to Division I universities. Currently, playing at a Juco counts towards an athlete's eligibility clock. So, if a football player plays 2 years of Juco ball, they can then only play 2 years of Division I ball before their college career is over. Here's the important fact in all of this. Junior colleges are not governed by the NCAA, but are instead governed by the NCAA. So the question becomes, does the NCAA have the right to start an athlete's eligibility clock when that athlete is playing under a different governing body? With that in mind, we can now look at Pavia and his lawsuit. Diego Pavia played 2 years of Juco ball at New Mexico Military Institute from 2020 to 2021. Then he transferred to New Mexico State and played for 2 years. Due to COVID, he was granted another year of eligibility, which allowed him to play for a 5th year when he transferred to Vanderbilt in 2024. After that, his clock was up, but then Pavia sued the NCAA, alleging that by counting junior college seasons in his 4 permitted years of intercollegiate competition, the NCAA violated Section 1 of the Sherman Act. In simple terms, Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act says that 2 or more parties cannot make agreements that unreasonably restrict trade or competition. Pavia is alleging that counting his Juco years toward his eligibility clock is unreasonably restricting him from earning money from NIL deals. As a result of this lawsuit, Pavia was granted a preliminary injunction that was also enjoined with the enforcement of the restitution rule. All this meant was that Pavia would be allowed to play in the 2025 season, and Vanderbilt could not later be punished for him playing. While Pavia got exactly what he wanted, he did not win the lawsuit, as the injunction is just a temporary measure. The NCAA will get its day in court, and if they win, the eligibility clock goes back to normal. However, if Pavia wins, then Juco seasons will not count toward the eligibility clock for any college football player, which will have sweeping ramifications for the sport. For Diego, it would mean he could play yet another year of college football if he wants to, as he played 2 years of Juco ball. But the bigger effect is that we could see seniors that are 2 years older than would normally be possible, meaning you could see full teams of guys that are as old as NFL players. Let's look at a breakdown of feasible ages for players in the high school and college ranks so you can get a full grasp of what I'm talking about. We are going to take one player that is young for his grade and one player that is old for his grade and compare their journeys through high school and college. Let's say both these players were born in what I like to call the transition months. These are the months between May and August where a parent has to make a developmental decision about whether their child should be old or young for their grade. If you push them ahead, they will be 17 as a senior. If you hold them back, they will be 18 as a senior. Neither is crazy, and the decision tends to lie in whether the child needs an extra year of preschool or not. But then comes what has jokingly been called the Texas red shirt. This is when parents hold their kid back a year simply to give them an athletic advantage over their peers. This now makes the kid 19 as a senior and 16 as a freshman, which is an incredible advantage at the high school level. Now let's go into college. Let's say the younger player was a 5-star recruit and given playing time from their first year, and they play all 4 years without injury. Their clock has now run out at the age of 21. Now let's look at the older player. They were overlooked in high school and went the Juco route. After 2 years there, they transfer to a Division I school and choose to redshirt their first season. The next year, they get injured and are awarded a medical redshirt. After that, they play 3 seasons of college football to finally end their career. So, you can have 2 players from the same high school class, and one player's clock runs out at 21 years old, and another player's clock runs out at 27 years old. Insane. I'm sure some of you watching this are saying it's ridiculous that we could have 27-year-old college football players. But here's the thing, old college football players are not a new phenomenon. Let's take a brief look at the biggest age loophole in college athletics. In 1999, Florida State won the national championship. Their star quarterback was Chris Weinke, and he was 27 years old. A year later, he became the oldest Heisman winner ever at the age of 28. This was all possible because Weinke had spent 7 years playing minor league baseball. NCAA rules state that your eligibility clock starts when you enroll as a full-time student at any college. Also, if you play professional in a certain sport, you cannot come back to college and play that same sport. So, to be an old college football player like Weinke, you essentially need to go professional in a different sport straight out of high school. The two main sports for this are baseball and rugby. For instance, the oldest college football player right now is Monte Harrison, who played 10 years of pro baseball and is currently 30 years old, and he still has 3 years of eligibility left. The second oldest player is Billy Gowers, who played Australian rules football for 10 years before joining the Pro Kick Australia program and getting a scholarship from the University of Hawaii. He also has 3 years of eligibility left. This is why you see a lot of old college football punters, because they are playing professionally in Australia for several years before coming to the States to play college football. So all of that to say, old college football players are not a new phenomenon and have always been a possibility, just not one that has been realized to its full extent until now. However, I do not think this is a good enough justification to allow for Juco years not to count against a player's eligibility. These former professional players are the rare exception. If you make this age the norm, then you could have entire college football teams with similar ages to those of entire NFL teams, which essentially turns college football into another professional football league. If this is allowed, college coaches are going to love these older players and fill their rosters with them. Simply put, older players win games, especially at the most important position, quarterback. Here's a list of every national champion quarterback of the last 20 years. Only 4 of these guys, Jameis Winston, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, and JJ McCarthy, were below the age of 21, and only the first 3 were in their freshman or sophomore year of college. Several recent champs were at least 23 years old, like Joe Burrow, Stetson Bennett, and Will Howard. Older guys are more mature physically and mentally, so they are more capable of leading a team to victory. Alright, let's wrap this up with some projections for the future. The first is that Texas redshirts are going to become more common. Sports parents are already big enough psychopaths as it is, and now that there's a ton of money to be made with NIL, they'll do anything to give their child an advantage. The second is that very little will change for the 4- and 5-star recruits. They're going to sign with big programs and make a ton of money with NIL as they've been doing for the past few years. But things get interesting for the other guys. My third and final projection is that if Pavia wins his lawsuit, far more 0-star and low 3-star recruits will go the Juco route. 2 years to grow physically and mentally and improve your shot at a big Division I program and NIL money without using any eligibility? It's a no-brainer. The simple fact is that there is a lot of money and status to be gained in the world of college football. Since that status is constrained to a certain time frame, players will do their best to maximize the amount of time they can spend there, and this lawsuit could give them the opportunity to expand that time by 2 years. If you have your own thoughts about the effect this lawsuit could have on college football, leave a comment down below. And if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to subscribe.